Welcome to the Tuesday stream. How's everybody doing? I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday morning. I got my coffee, so I am definitely ready today. Hey, Chibericat, how's it going? Nice sweater, thank you, appreciate it. I'm trying to get into the mood. Good morning. Did you know it was raining? How did you know it was raining? Are you spying on me? Yes, I'm actually everywhere. Carlos in Xmas mode, no turkey sweater. Sage? True, Kal-El. I don't have one. I just have, I literally just have 2 Christmas sweaters. I mean, it's Florida, okay, so we don't really do this whole sweater weather thing, but it is November, so I figured I might as well start. The only thing missing is the only thing that would be missing is starting to play that Mariah Carey song. If you start celebrating Christmas now, I'm not serving you a plate at Thanksgiving. True. I just like throwing all the holidays in one. As soon as it's Halloween, the moment it's Halloween, I'm already in holiday mode. So the temperature dropped below 80, I'm guessing. True. True. It actually did. Kenzo Shibata, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate that. Welcome. How's it going? Well said, and I wholeheartedly agree. No turkey dinner for ADT. Yeah, the one and only Kenzo. That's right. It's a blustery 76 degrees, sunny. I believe that might be the high point. Sweater weather here is when the temperature drops below 35. Oh my goodness, no, not here. Look, I'm all in holiday mood. I got all my little. It's me, Kenzo. Yep. I'm only using class time for streaming now. I'm using this for chat. That makes sense. How's it going? Halloween is my favorite. Same. Feeling good? Feeling good. That's good. Is, Idan behaving himself? How are you? I'm chilling. It's a rainy South Florida morning, so we've got the little sweater because it's below 80 degrees, so that's official sweater weather in South Florida. We all know a sock puppet troll username when we see one. True. He's never behaving, that's why I hired him. That's funny. My sock puppet account is a simple lie. Morning. Dang, between Chai and Anarchist, it looks like no turkey, no Thanksgiving dinner for me. Morning, Dakapolion. Alright, folks, we do have quite the amount of headlines to go through, and I believe there's also more speeches from COP26 that's still happening right now. So we're gonna get into it in just a moment. All right. You can have Thanksgiving dinner if you keep Christmas in December. Fine. Fine, that is the compromise. I will. Okay, I won't say anything. Okay, never mind my sweater. I won't say anything. More talking heads, true. Hey, Tendera, 6 sweater, thank you, appreciate it. I think that that's a compromise I can live with. Whoa. Yeah, so... Plenary, Karen Carnes, National Statements, Tuesday, 2nd of November. Okay, so there are going to be speeches. We'll be tuning in periodically if we can. Alright, folks, first off, young people are over Democrats and Republicans. New data shows what that means for 2022. New data from the California recall election suggests young voters are growing more frustrated with elected leaders. I can't quite put my finger on why that would be. Some may be on the verge of ditching both political parties altogether. They aren't the numbers that Democrats want to see heading into the vital midterm. Yeah, I wonder what that could possibly be as to why that's happening. New data obtained by NBCLX reveals turnout among voters from ages 18 to 29. Oof, that's not in my age group. Fell by nearly half for California's September recall election compared to the 2020 presidential election 10 months earlier. But the California recall election is a completely different scenario, so I'm not sure if that's a apt bellwether. That doesn't make any sense. Because the California recall election was very small in terms of turnout from the beginning. So I'm not sure that we can use that to then say we have lower voter turnout, although there are other reasons why we could make that argument, but I wouldn't use the example of the recall election, if that makes sense. Dia de los Muertos Part 2. True. That's right. You have to vote harder to make the vote count through gerrymandering, unironically. Yeah, and that's what makes people get really angry, disillusioned, dissatisfied, because unironically, their voices are meaning less and less. I've been over both for years now. That's why I'm a socialist. I don't blame you. I'm tired of seeing Congress looking and sounding like an old folks' home? Yeah, you too can prevent this from happening by what? This is such a frustrating meme. Thanks, Obama. Anyways. The share of ballots from those young adults fell to just 12% of the electorate, down from 17% of last November, according to Secretary of State office. And even though overall turnout for the recall election was down 28%, because it's a recall election, I don't get it. Like what? Okay. From 2020 presidential race, the drop off among voters under 30, 48% was 4 times higher than the drop off among voters over 60. Yeah, we know that. It's a warning sign as well of a bit of a paradox for Democrats. Gen Zers, voters more likely than any generation to support Democratic candidates, Gen Z voters, more likely than any other generation to support Democratic candidates, according to Pew, are also now the voters most likely to say they no longer support the job performance of President Joe Biden and other established Democratic leaders. Yeah. Could anybody just take a gander as to why they may feel that way? Can anybody take a gander as to why they may feel that way? Is it because they ran on a platform that was originally but there was some important stuff that may improve our country and may improve the living conditions here, and that's why they were elected. And now we don't get any of it. we don't get any of it. We don't get to build back better. We don't get to build back nothing. Hey Rondo, how's it going? Nothing will fundamentally change. Gen Z loves when nothing changes, despite the fact that was the reason why there was an unprecedented turnout specifically to deliver the Senate for the Democratic Party on the basis that they would pass something, anything, really. No way. We need infrastructure so bad. Yeah, we needed infrastructure so bad that even the idea of like that being part of the platform was a pretty popular aspect of it. Yeah, that's right. Never built back, but we're not building back better. We're never building back, period. And I don't know what we're building, to be honest. Yeah, passing a bill is a once-in-a-century event, clearly. I've been over it for a while now. That's why I'm an ANCOM. Again, I don't blame you. I mean, like, what are you supposed to do when you, for decades at this point, it's not just our generation, but for decades at this point, we've been needing, not asking, we've been needing a lot of changes in order for us to be, in order for us to improve and move forward. But we have not. We have seen the problems that have been fermenting for quite some time now just kind of continue to be kicked down the road. Yeah, right. Who would want that? Especially after the guy who ran on Hope and Change delivered something that redefined what Hope and Change meant. Yeah. Hope and Change just basically meant like, we didn't get everything we want, but we got something. Bro, you had the super majority at one point. Anyways, it's almost like you're saying people want change. Yeah, people want change because it's necessary at this point. It isn't like a ask, more of a necessity. The Dem platform is made of tissue paper. Yeah, it was made of tissue paper, but should they have been able to enact the most important parts of those platforms, they wouldn't be in this position. They wouldn't be in this position where young people are just turning their backs. This time I promise. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, how are you supposed to then tell people to vote for you again? That being said, I want to be very clear. I don't want the Republican Party to win. I don't want conservatives to get their hands on power, because I know what that means. But you gotta be better. The Democratic Party has to be better. The Democratic Party has to be better. I want the workers to have their hands on the wheel. Then we should probably push in areas that we can when it comes to expanding unionization, when it comes to advocating for programs to kickstart worker co-ops, for encouraging those that do end up turning into worker co-ops. Look, the Democrats do what they know best, and that's shit to bed when you need them most. Apparently. I'm gonna look backwards at the kids, I'm gonna turn this car around. Gen Z voters are more likely than any other generation to support Democratic candidates, according to Pew. Are also now the voters most likely say they no longer support the job performance of President Joe Biden and other established Democratic leaders. California's turnout numbers, as well as recent polling, suggest Democrats may be suffering due to young progressives' frustration over the glacial pace of progress in fulfilling Biden's campaign promises on social programs, climate change, and civil rights. Yeah, because that's what... Wait. Yeah, like, I understand. Look, I understand that the way things work in Congress and the way things work in government isn't that simple, right? It's not that simple. But at the same time, you have people like President Joe Manchin and Madam President Kyrsten Sinema holding up, stopping, gutting crucial legislation that would indeed be necessary and part of the campaign promises. Why? This is like the easiest thing in the world. It's such an easy W. It's low-hanging fruit. It's not even that big. It's not even that radical of an idea. It's not even that radical transformative change whatsoever. And that's the sad part, that we've been conditioned to even think that something like 2 years of community college would be like a radical transformative piece of legislation. But even that can't pass the Democratic-controlled Senate and House. The radical transformative idea of maternity leave, of paid sick leave, can't pass the Democratic-controlled Senate. The simple idea of expanding Medicare for to include was it Medicare or Medicaid? Medicare to include eyeglasses, hearing aids, and dental. It's too radical in a Democratic-controlled administration. That's unbelievable to me. Yeah, the donors, no likesies, true. I propose that we take corporate lobbying out of politics. I think that lobbying should be either incredibly regulated or just done away with altogether. Because, like, while it is incredibly toxic when it comes to corporate lobbying, unions also use that power too. But I think that it should either be heavily regulated or just done away with completely. The Dems won't be better until we can elect representatives who won't depend on corporate handouts. The Dems represent those who pay them. I think that to a degree that's true. It's a little bit more complex, but to a degree that's true. Not to mention all the freshwater, new land, and gold deposits it opens up. Right. Y'all forced the corpos to kidnap the children to get what they want. Yeah. While the young voter drop-off didn't stop Newsom from surviving his recall election by a 24-point margin, Democrats trying to preserve their narrow 8-seat House majority don't feel like they have any room for error in 2022. That's because they don't. Everything is literally stacked against them. incumbency usually is not a good sign for the party that's in power. On top of that, falling poll numbers and falling approval ratings because of the failures of the Biden administration delivering on its platform is going to be a bloodbath in 2022. The Democrats are going to face devastating consequences in the midterm elections if we do not deliver for the people. True, said Representative Mondaire Jones, one of the youngest members of Congress at 34 years old. Most people intuitively believe that when a party has unified control of the federal government, including majorities in both chambers of Congress, that they should be able to act swiftly, especially on priorities they campaigned on. I get it that I get it that things don't just happen, right? But the fact that this is an opportunity, the fact that this is an opportunity, especially through budget reconciliation, to pass deeply needed legislation, desperately needed programs, and they can't get it through, and the biggest hurdle is not the Republican Party, but their own. Only 43% of Gen Z voters approve of President Biden's job performance compared to 51% millennials, 46% of Generation X, and 45% of baby boomers. According to an October poll from Morning Consult and Politico, for Gen Z, that represents nearly 20-point drop in approval from June, when 62% of adults 18 to 24 gave Biden thumbs up compared to 59% of millennials and 51% of both Gen Xers and baby boomers. Polls ahead of the California recall election showed similar dissatisfaction among young voters for Governor Newsom, despite him being frequently painted as too liberal by conservatives in other parts of the country. And a recent poll from The Economist and YouGov revealed that only 36% of voters under 30 said they considered President Biden liberal, the lowest of any age group polled. Only 24% considered him honest and trustworthy, also the lowest of any age group. Maybe one of the factors that reportedly led the president to tell congressional Democrats that the House and Senate majorities in my presidency will be determined by the party's ability to end stalemates over his bipartisan infrastructure and build back better plans. Yeah, it's not happening. Sorry. Unless you can get President Joe Manchin and Madam President Kirsten Sinema to play ball, it's not going to happen. It's just not. There's absolutely nothing stopping you except his own party. Nobody to blame except his own party. And if he can't get it together, and if he can't pull through, then they will fail. They will get completely obliterated in 2022. The only thing that's going to encourage people, the only thing that's going to increase voter turnout is if you give people something to vote for. This idea that you are going to scare people into voting because the Republican Party is worse isn't going to really fly anymore, okay? It's just not going to work. That being said, it is true. The Republican Party is worse. But you're not going to sell that idea, okay? It's not. That strategy was a Hail Mary, okay? That only worked once. Not necessarily a bloodbath. Trump keeps telling his base not to vote because the system is rigged. True. Well, that is something to consider, Silver Knight Dragon. That is something to consider. But I don't know. I feel like I feel like the incompetence of the Democratic Party will lead them to fail. I'm not holding my breath. I'm hoping that they turn it around with the time that they have, because they still have time to turn it around and say, all right, look, we're going to get it done and then produce results. But until then, I'm not really going to hold my breath. Let's put it this way. It isn't that hard already. The odds are already stacked against the Democratic Party from the beginning. And you sprinkled in the fact that President Biden has ran, or I should say, the Democratic Party ran on the idea that, hey, if you deliver the Senate for us, if we get the presidency, and we keep the House, then we'll be able to do X, Y, or Z. Well, you've done none of those, and then like the people who are responsible for that not happening is the Democratic Party. So yeah, I don't know if that's gonna work again. I mean, certainly what Silver Knight Dragon is saying will, I'm sure, play a factor, but I don't know. I don't know. Slow progress is nothing new in Washington. Young voters are also dissatisfied with leading Democrats such as House Speaker Pelosi, who also painted for decades by conservatives as too liberal, but who's recently been criticized by progressives for not doing enough to forcefully pass the Democratic priorities. Her approval rating among Gen Z voters is 23%, far lower than among any other generation, according to the Morning Consult political poll. But progress has often been slow in Washington, even for presidents attempting a less ambitious agenda than President Biden. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Some of the significant issues that we saw change in the 20th century, like the voting age lowered to 18, that took decades to happen. Yeah, okay, so, here's the thing. That's not, like, I don't think that we have the same, I don't think we have the same, like, scenario. This is a completely different scenario here. Part of making important structural changes towards a more equitable democracy and stronger communities means staying in the fight. Sure, but, we're not asking for, like, transformative, like, massive change, okay? The idea, the platform of the Build Back Better agenda, particularly those with the most modicum of change, like paid family leave, clean energy, and things like that. That's not like significant change. You're talking about the most bare minimum. This isn't like a radical, transformative change, right? This is the bare minimum. That's right, you deserve nothing, plebs. Nothing, work harder. Cool sweater, by the way. Thank you, KTS Shine. Hope you're doing alright, howdy howdy. But it'll be radical change in their stock portfolio, Carlos. Think of the portfolio, dang it. I should have thought about that. I should have thought about that. They pay $22 at McDonald's in Denmark and 5 weeks of paid vacation. Yeah, things that are too radical here. $5 weeks. Here, For paid time off, you're lucky if you get 40 hours. 80 hours if your company is generous, which is 2 weeks. Line go down? That's a problem. Line go up? That's okay. I'm doing well. I started a new job in LA and now work with mostly anti-vaxxers. Yikes. Stay safe, KTS. I may actually have to pay capital gains taxes. You're thinking about becoming a Republican now. $22 an hour is amazing. Well, it's a living wage, that's for sure. It's more of a living wage at that point. On the bright side, these conditions keep us more radical. Yeah, yeah, and these Big Mac cost 50 cents less there. True. That's right. This idea that paying people more will increase significantly the prices of Big Macs is just not true. In fact, the economist that won the Nobel Prize or something like that actually laid out the argument for the idea that wages are going to be a problem. Wages are going to affect unemployment and things like that. It's just not true. The same thing with immigrants affecting wages. That's also not true. I mean, like, these are things that we've known for a while, but it's nice to see that that's what they won their Nobel Prize on. Minimum wage should be 44 if kept up with Wall Street pay. Yeah, but I don't see that happening. I'm economically conservative now. I'm just happy it's something I even need to think about. True. Researchers say researchers say young voter impatience shouldn't be confused with apathy. Well, the problem is that does turn into disillusioned folks that aren't going to come out and vote for you, so I disagree with that. Gen Z cares deeply about these issues, said Carolyn DeWitt, president and executive director of the nonpartisan advocacy group Rocks the Vote. They're trying to reach this tipping point of no turning back, and they're the ones who are inheriting these messes. They want bold action on them, and they want that fast. But a Senate majority that needs 50 votes can only move as fast as the 50th most progressive member wants it to move. And in this Senate, where there are only 50 Democrats, that often makes conservative Joe Manchin from a deep red Appalachia the fulcrum for any spending bill. Yeah, okay, so what this tells me is that, like, we just have to accept the fact that, well, this guy is just gonna be the one to call the shots. Must be nice, Kalo. Higher wages equals more active economy. True. Turns out, in this particular consumerist economy, turns out that you kind of need people to be able to buy your stuff. Other legislation that proposes to change policies such as voting rights and energy regulation bills requires 60 out of the 100 Senate votes to break the infamous filibuster, a reform-busting mechanism that can be used to delay a bill indefinitely with only a 41-member minority supporting it. A small number of conservative Democrats, much like Republicans in previous sessions, have vowed to protect the filibuster despite increasing pressure from progressive Dems who say it's hurting American families as well as democracy. Progressive also push back against the claim that the party needs to protect the filibuster for the future when they may not be in the minority again. Well, here's the thing, buddy. If you continue to deliver for the American people, that kind of shouldn't be a problem. It's not that Biden's resume is devoid, full of progressive promises. He brought back the U.S. back into the Paris Accord. Okay, but like, yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. He reversed a number of President Trump's policy, including the transgender military ban. Okay, so we're back to square one. He ended family separation policies at the border, so back to square one. You rush money out to families and small businesses with the American Rescue Plan. Again, just like the basic stuff. It's just that those accomplishments aren't enough for some young progressives who believe the window is closing on rare opportunities to pass once in a generation transformational legislation. Yes, that's the problem. That's exactly it. your window for opportunity is slipping, especially the fact that, like, when it comes to climate change, this is the turning point when it comes to what we are going to do and what we're going to end up with decades down the road. That's why especially Generation Z is incredibly frustrated, and rightfully so. This is the turning point because, let's say, no climate legislation gets passed. Nothing gets done, right? Which seems to be the case. Which seems to be where we're heading. Nothing gets done, right? The Democratic Party loses the majorities in both houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives. Then nothing definitely doesn't get done for the last 2 years of the Biden administration. Then, because nothing got done, everybody's going to be incredibly mad, which rightfully so. Incoming 2024, we'll have a GOP president, a GOP House, a GOP Senate for the next 4 years after that. So that's 8 years of nothing getting done. Climate change isn't going to care. Isn't going to pause because we're solving political issues. Climate change isn't going to sit here and wait till we get our politics solved. Time keeps coming. Time keeps marching forward. Time keeps marching forward. And by then, it will be 2030, 2028 or 20... I don't know. I'm not going to do quick maths on the fly. But it'll be just under 2030 of doing nothing when we were supposed to be taking action this entire time. That's why they're mad. That's why they're frustrated. That's why they feel like this is a rare opportunity. This is a window that's slowly closing. Because once the Democrats get swept out of office, and they will, I believe so, then we just lose yet another cycle. Did you see Tucker Carlson's new documentary? Documentary is a strong word there, buddy. Documentary is a strong word. Just remember that anything that Tucker Carlson does is to be taken with an absolute grain of salt, and you can be assured that it will be filled with lies and misrepresentations. It essentially showed that Antifa... Oh yeah, no, literally, that's just a meme, by the way. That's just a meme. You can't trust it. It's Tucker Carlson, dude. The guy lies every single day. His job is to lie. That's it. His job is to lie and push a narrative. That's it. He is lying, and there's no evidence to suggest that Antifa was behind the insurrection in January 6th. There's literally no evidence of that whatsoever. It was Trump supporters. It was the far right. That's it. Period. If the GOP gets power, the treasury gets further drained. We potentially lose several cities due to wildfires and extreme weather and floods, and the two parties blame each other again. Yeah, but by then it doesn't matter, does it? We're all screwed. By then it doesn't really matter. We're all screwed. That's my point. Really quickly, Veet World Champions. I don't know what that means. Really quickly, if it was Antifa, then wouldn't Republican senators and Republican House committees would be dying to get their hands on the investigation that's happening right now? Why are they so adamant about stopping the investigation to January 6th? Why are they so scared? It's kind of weird, don't you think? On Jon Stewart's show, someone said that technically the best investment to make is in the youth and stuff, and I can't stop thinking about it. Of course, because they're the future. Yeah, of course. Anyways. The TLDR is that this is incredibly worrisome. This is incredibly worrisome. I thought the show was going to be pretty lively, but it discussed actual issues and he had actual people talking to experts. Nice. Cool. People got triggered because it wasn't like his usual comedy type of way of dealing with things. Alright folks, so we need to push back against a narrative that has been floating around on the right, saying that the Biden administration is just giving out 450,000 to immigrant families who are separated at the border. Conservative pundits and conservative lawmakers have pushed the idea that this is going to incentivize people to come here because they're going to get some type of payout. The reality is quite different. The Biden administration is reportedly considering making payments of nearly $450,000 to each person separated from the family at the border they crossed into the country illegally. The proposed payments would go to immigrant family who was separated after crossing the southern border to claim asylum, and in 2017 and 2018 as part of Trump's administration's zero-tolerance policy. Zero-tolerance policy began in May. Under the policy, agents arrested everyone who crossed the border illegally, including those seeking asylum. Children accompanying adults were separated from their parents and held at different facilities, and their cases were dealt with separately. The payments are part of settlement talks for several lawsuits that claim the U.S. government's policies under Trump left children with lasting psychological effects. So the idea that the Biden administration is just like willy-nilly throwing money into the pockets of illegal immigrants or undocumented folks is just not true. This was part of several lawsuits that were brought against the administration that was previous, and this is the settlements. According to the Journal, the U.S. Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and Health and Human Services are in talks to offer each person who had been separated $450,000. So this isn't like an incentive that you, if you come here, that you're going to automatically get a payout. No, this was part of several lawsuits that were litigated against the U.S. government. The Journal cites multiple sources close to the discussions. According to the Journal, most families who have crossed the border are made up of one parent, one child, meaning each family would get $900,000 if the settlements were to go through. Some 940 families have filed claims against the U.S. government, but it is unclear how many people will be eligible for the settlements. The total payout for the number of families would be around $1 billion. Republican congressional leaders have reacted strongly to the proposal. Minority Whip Representative Steve Scalise tweeted that the proposal means Democrats are actively encouraging... Oh yeah, here we go. Clown number 1. Actively encouraging illegal immigration. No. Again, you know this, Steve Scalise. Oh, God. Stop it. Because now I can't... Okay. Stop. Okay. Because you know that's not the story. That is a misrepresentation of what actually is going on. Okay? This guy is lying. I just about fell off my chair when I read this, Senator Lindsey Graham said, "For the sake of our country, I hope this reporting is in error. This would be an outrage. Spare me. You know what's going on. You know what the Trump administration did. You know why these lawsuits were brought upon." According to the ACLU, approximately 5,500 children were separated from their parents after crossing the border of 2017 and 2018. The ACLU is calling for signatures on a petition directed at the Biden administration calling for help those families who were separated after crossing into the U.S. The Biden administration is correct to provide relief on children to the children and families affected by the government's horrific practice of family separation. And just to be clear, the Biden administration isn't just providing relief because they want to. Okay, this is also a mischaracterization. The Biden administration is only considering settling because of the multiple lawsuits that have been brought against the previous administration. Okay, so this is their way of just settling it because that's what you do when you have all of this stuff against you. So they're not just giving relief because of some type of willingness to make things right. They're doing this because this is a civil litigation that has happened. Okay, that's what these two clowns here are trying to obfuscate. Okay, that's what these two clowns are trying to obfuscate. The Biden administration isn't just saying, "Oh, everybody gets $450,000." No. This is part of a civil litigation that's been happening, I assume, for quite a while. This is just now being reported on the result of that litigation. Their suffering is something they will also have to live with, and is a deep moral stain on our country. We need to make it right, and this includes not simply any monetary support, but also a path to remain here. This is what is right and fair. The asylum seekers who came here for seeking asylum should have their case heard, period, full stop. The Journal reports that lawyers for families and the government have told courts that they hope to reach a deal by the end of November. Again, this isn't like out of the goodness of anybody's heart. This is just what's being litigated in court. In other words, they're being mandated to do this. So, like, reparations? In a way, I guess you could call it that, but in a way you could call it that, but Tucker Carlson is pushing for a race war without literally saying those words, and TPUSA is pushing for a civil war without literally saying those words. I wonder which one we'll get. Nah, I don't want either of them. I think that honestly, those who are continuing to push that narrative are cringe. Incredibly toxic. We all saw the video. I'm sure everybody's seen the video by now. At a Turning Point USA event with Charlie Kirk, where this one dude was literally, Turning Point USA had a massive gamer moment where this dude stood up and said, like, well, when do we get to use the guns? When do we get to Roblox these people? When do we get to Roblox these people? Yeah. And it'd be one thing if that was just like one dude. It'd be one thing if that was just one dude, except the entire crowd started cheering and clapping. Yeah. Be one thing if it was just one crazy dude who got up there and was like, yeah, you know, I think we should Roblox all these people, but it's another, quite frankly, chilling. It's more chilling when the entirety of the audience was clapping and cheering. I think this would be a good branding exercise to then use the case to push for reparations, but I'm not a liar. I'm not a lawyer. How will those two things be different? I'm not sure, Kala, to be honest. I don't know how the legalese would turn out in terms of the arguments in terms of court, but I don't know. The race war versus civil war in this case. Yeah, I think that, like, it's incredibly cringe and quite telling. Who's pushing this type of narrative? President Biden has agreed that the family separation policy is a historic moral stain on our nation that must be fully remedied. Okay, but like, you giving these people money isn't going to, like, you giving these people money isn't, like, gonna solve their, like, trauma, right? You can't just, like, tell people, like, oh yeah, here's $100,000 of bucks and that's it. No. There has to be significant changes. And more importantly, because this is, according to this article, is very specifically talking about those folks who were seeking asylum, something that is legal. That is not okay. You want to make sure it doesn't happen again? Gross. Right, like, exactly. That's exactly my underlying point here. Something does have to fundamentally change when it comes to our dealing with asylum seekers. You can't just... we should have never done what the Trump administration did. Period. That's not right. Anyways, the TLDR is to make sure that we have the story straight and make sure that people aren't just falling for this faux outrage. This is just faux outrage. Lindsey Graham knows. Lindsey Graham knows. Don't worry, I'll get to you in a second. Right, I'm sorry, Silver Knight. I should have thought about that. Will somebody think of the for-profit prison executives who own them? Somebody think about the profits. Line go up is the only way. As you folks may know, there was already opening arguments for the Texas law when it comes to abortion rights, and it seems like it might go in a positive direction. I hope. We will see. Supreme Court Justice is wary of Texas abortion ban enforcement scheme. 2 months to the day after allowing Texas to impose a near total ban on abortions, the Supreme Court on Monday was openly skeptical of state law SB 8 over concerns about its unprecedented enforcement mechanisms and what it could mean for other state attempts to limit constitutional rights. Exactly. The Texas law, which bans abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy, delegates enforcement to everyday citizens rather than state officials who can file civil lawsuits against anyone who aids and abets an unlawful procedure. Its state sponsors deliberately intended to circumvent federal court review, knowing that such a ban on its face would violate constitutionally protected abortion rights. Yeah, so, like, I love the fact that these folks continue to cry about, like, constitutional rights and stuff like that, but have absolutely no problems shaving off the rights that they don't like. I'm all for constitutional rights. I'm all for respecting people's. I'm all for respecting the Constitution and all that. But except for the inconvenient rights that I don't like. Except for the inconvenient rights that I don't like. Idea Guy raiding with a party of 19. Howdy, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I hope you had a great stream. Good morning. Cheers. Thank you. I appreciate that. Folks, if you don't know who we are A Difficult Truth. We do news and politics Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And we hang out on Saturdays, Saturdays around noon Eastern Time with the co-host. So come check us out. Make sure you, on your way in, make sure you hit the follow button. Join us every morning. We do news and politics and daily news. Thank you so much, ID. I appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. We're just getting into the next story. I didn't catch the sign. Wait, what? I like the sign in the middle. Oh yeah, he who is without ovaries shall not make laws for those who do. Philippians 2:6. Nice. True. It's so bizarre how, like, they cry about, like, government interfering in people's lives, but then have no problem with government interfering with people's lives. The memes write themselves, folks. A majority of justices during the more than 3 hours of oral arguments on Monday signaled that the Texas abortion providers have a strong case for asking the federal courts to put SB 8 on hold. There's a loophole that's been exploited here or used here, Justice Brett Kavanaugh, wow, said, referring to the 1908 Supreme Court case Ex parte Young that established a precedent for people to sue state officials in federal court for alleged constitutional violations. Kavanaugh and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who both voted in September with a 5-justice majority allowing SB 8 to take effect, voiced particular discomfort with the idea that a state could outsource enforcement of a law to citizens in an attempt to circumvent precedent. So the question becomes, should we extend the principle of Ex parte Young to, in essence, close that loophole? He added, the whole sweep of the case suggested such an outcome. I think there is language in Ex parte that favors you, Barrett told the abortion provider's attorney Mark Heron. It was not clear how quickly the Supreme Court will hand down a decision in the case. Clinics across Texas have said they have discontinued most abortion care services while the legal battle plays out. If the justices side with the Texas abortion providers, they could return the case to a federal district court for proceedings, or the court itself could issue an order blocking SB 8 as litigation continues. Texas Solicitor General Judd Stone insisted that state officials have nothing to do with SB 8 enforcement, and that the state courts are proper venues to litigate challenges to SB 8 on a case-by-case. Yeah, no, because you dang well know that all these state courts, nah, hard pass. I'm sorry, you don't get to circumvent constitutional rights that you don't like. Plaintiff by plaintiff basis, 14 state suits are underway. Those individual cases could ultimately end up in federal court. Petitioners want an injunction against SB 8. The law itself, said Stone, they can't receive that because federal courts don't issue injunctions against laws, but against officials enforcing laws. No Texas executive official enforces SB 8 either, and so no Texas executive official may be enjoined. And that's the nice meme on top of everything. Can't find a name like? How's it going? So, like, they didn't consider this at the time? Right. Oh, you didn't catch the sign? I'll show it again, Kal-El. Here we go. He who without ovaries shall not make laws for those who do. Philippians 2:6. Justice Elena Kagan took direct aim at Texas' argument, warning that allowing the state scheme to stand would be an open invitation to other states to circumvent other disfavored constitutional rights, which is, I'm sure, they're completely okay with, apparently. Essentially, we would be like, you know, we are open, you're open for business. There's nothing the Supreme Court can do about it. Guns, same-sex marriage, religious rights, whatever you like, whatever you don't like, go ahead. Exactly. And then, these are the same people that are going to cry if there is for example, if there's like a law that says, well, you know what? We're not going to ban guns. Can't do it. Instead, we're going to offer a $10,000 bounty For those who are found X, Y, or Z. Yeah, sure. Anything that you don't like. Chief Justice John Roberts raised concerns about the inability of citizens to preemptively defend their constitutional rights because the Texas law doesn't have a clear enforcer until an individual claim is made. It's a question of anybody having the capacity or ability to go to the federal court because nobody's going to risk violating the statute because they'll be subject to suit for a significant financial sum, and that takes a lot of fortitude to undertake the prohibited conduct in that case. And under the system, it is only by undertaking the prohibited conduct that you can get into federal court. While many justices did appear open to federal curbs on SB 8, there was no clear consensus on who their opinion should target or who a federal court could enjoin. What relief are you requesting? Asked Heron. We are requesting an injunction against the commencement or docketing of lawsuits against the state court clerks across the state of Texas, as well as injunctive relief against the state executive officials for the residual authority to enforce SB 8. Several justices seem to disinclined to enjoin judges or clerks from simply doing their jobs, which are not inherently adversarial. Justice Sonia Sotomayor suggested that issuing an injunction against the Attorney General of Texas would effectively cover all citizens who might bring lawsuits under SB 8. They are acting in concert with the state, Sotomayor insisted. Why wouldn't these private individuals be considered private attorney generals? One thing that seems rather implicit on the other side is that they are in effect, if not in designation by law, attorney generals because they are enforcing a statewide policy. True. Nice. Nice. Well, I don't know if that's like applicable, Jesse, Tibby, but I guess I could see the logic. I just wouldn't use that as an analogy. I do like that his entire run is a giant critique of dumb shit. Yeah, exactly. Drug-free zones are helpful. It tells you what places to avoid. Nice. U.S. Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar said that a federal court could target any potential private plaintiffs in Texas. The state incentivizes their conduct. No constitutional right is safe if such a model is allowed to stand. And that is at the heart of the problem. The reality is this should have never been allowed to fly in the first place. This should have never been allowed to fly. Period. Full stop. This should have never been allowed to fly in the first place. Period. Here's a nice meme. Roger Stone said he'll run for Florida governor if Ron DeSantis doesn't conduct a vote audit in the state where Trump won. I mean, like, what levels of delusion are we in at this point? That we are arguing or threatening to run against Ron DeSantis, which, by the way, I fully endorse the idea of splitting the Republican vote. I think Roger Stone should run for the sake of running. I fully endorse the idea of splitting the Republican vote. But the idea that he's threatening to do this if he doesn't conduct a vote audit in the state where Trump won, and particularly this year, Florida's elections actually went pretty smooth. It was pretty quick. Everything was done very well. The results were fast. There was nothing to see here except just a run, just another regular election. But he's continuing to push the idea, I think, that our electoral systems aren't good. He's continuing to push the idea that we shouldn't trust our electoral systems even in states that Trump won. I mean, these are like, Jesus, this is so cringe. Even in states that Trump won, I mean, like, again, the dangerous part here is that he continues, people like him, people like Trump, people like him, people like Tucker Carlson, and those who continue to push This idea that there was massive shenanigans in the 2020 election without any evidence whatsoever are continuing to shake and damage what semblance of democracy, what appearances of democracy that we have, and continue to threaten one of the most sacred things, which is our vote. Roger Stone, a longtime Trump ally, threatened to run to unseat Governor DeSantis of Florida if DeSantis does not conduct an audit of the 2020 election. I heard Governor DeSantis say that Florida had the most honest election in our history in 2020. Well, that's actually across the board. Literally nothing to see here. Yet I know for certainty that there's 1 million phantom voters. What? 1 million? Wow. I'm sure Roger Stone, who is very hinged, very normal, will produce a plethora of evidence to document all 1 million of these phantom voters. These voters simply do not exist. Roger Stone wrote on his Telegram channel to some 20,000 subscribers on Sunday. And that's the problem. He reaches tens of thousands of people. If Florida Governor Ron DeSantis does not order a full audit of the Florida 2020 vote, I may be forced to seek the Libertarian Party. Yeah, nice meme. Aw, man. Nice meme. Please do it. Please do it. Right, Memo. Exactly. Well, he is a human being. He's just disgusting human being. They have many of the courts. They're trying to make a system that they don't need votes for. Exactly. Trump is Rambo, apparently. I'd love to see them audit Florida and find thousands of extra Biden votes. In some cases, that actually did happen. If Ron DeSantis does not order a full audit of the 2020 vote, I may be forced to seek the Libertarian Party nomination for governor in 2022. I wonder if the Libertarian Party is gonna play ball to this. I mean, please do it. Please do it so that you can split the Republican vote and just like get this guy out of office. Please do it. Please, God. Stone also said on social media platform Gab that he may be forced to seek the Libertarian Party nomination if DeSantis doesn't look into his claims of voter fraud. There's no evidence of widespread voter fraud in the 2020 election, and Donald Trump won Florida, defeating Joe Biden by 3 percentage points. Trump's victory in the state has not stopped local Republicans, of course, Republicans, who continue to shake the trust of our election systems without an iota of evidence. In September, the GOP in Lake County near Orlando approved resolutions to call on every state lawmaker to conduct an audit of the 2020 election. My Pillow guy has also pushed these baseless claims that Trump won Florida by about 3 times as many votes. His push for a forensic audit and a recount of 11 million votes cast in the state has put DeSantis in an awkward position, Politico reported. He said last year that Florida was a model of how states should handle ballots. People are actually looking at Florida and asking questions, why can't the states be more like Florida? I don't know who these people are, but okay. DeSantis said during a news conference last November, adding the way Florida did it, I think inspires confidence, and that's how elections should be run. Right, but these people are living in some bizarro alternate reality where, without a shred of evidence, continue to push these baseless and dangerous, I would argue, claims. Yeah, I love how these folks don't know what words mean. No one's forcing you. Yeah, like, hey dude, you can just run as an independent. Nobody's forcing you to do anything. Colorado is, though, we've been mailing voting for decades now. Nice. The way Florida did it, yeah. DeSantis has been adamant about the integrity of the voting count in Florida. Well, look, your party continues to push these baseless allegations, and you should be then to stand up and say, hey, look, there's nothing here. Okay, we've done everything correct. There's no evidence to suggest that any legitimate shenanigans happened in Florida. What we do in Florida, there's a pre- and post-election audit that happens automatically. We even have automatic audits. It's passing with flying colors in terms of how that's going, reportedly said in mid-October, adding that he thought Florida had a great election package. DeSantis said he intends to run for re-election in 2022, and he's also been widely viewed as a potential contender in the GOP presidential ticket, particularly if Trump doesn't run. Stone, a former Trump advisor and political strategist, was convicted in 2019 of 7 felonies linked to the FBI investigation into Russian interference in 2016, 5 counts of making false statements to the FBI, congressional investigators, and 1 count of witness tampering, and 1 count of obstruction of justice. This is a very, very trustworthy guy. Very, very, very hinged. I just voted today to allow absentee ballot throughout the New York to be included in the state of constitution. No excuse ballot for all. No excuse ballot for all forever. Nice. We didn't have that until COVID, and it was so popular that they just want to continue it as an option. Huh. Nice. Trump commuted Stone's sentence in 2020. Huh. Nice. Just really cool how they just cover for each other, right? Nice meme. Nice meme. Anyways, this guy is dangerous. He should be nowhere near any lever of power whatsoever. This guy just shouldn't be anywhere near that. And furthermore, the only thing this guy would be useful for is to split the Republican Party vote. Right, rules for thee, not for my buddies, though, because I will just commute their sentences. What? Lying? Committing multiple felonies? Nah. Speaking of clowns. Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida, of course, Lauren Boebert, fantasized about blowing up Capitol metal detectors after Gaetz joked about it while stumping for a Florida congressional hopeful. Again, these things that Florida people should be remembering when they go to vote. U.S. Representative Matt Gaetz spoke at a Halloween campaign rally for congressional candidate Anthony Sabatini. If that is your candidate, remember, this is who is associated with them. At a Halloween campaign rally for this congressional representative, Matt Gaetz complained about metal detectors in the House of Representatives and joked about blowing them up with explosives, a remark that made attendees laugh and clap. Which is, again, the disturbing part. Homonyms, thank you for the follow. I am not a possum. Thank you for the follow. I don't believe you. I think you are a possum. And more disturbingly, it made the attendees laugh and clap. Gaetz falsely claimed that the metal detectors which were installed after pro-Trump rioters breached the Capitol on January 6 were implemented because of Boebert, who he said carries a firearm for her personal protection. Boebert was not present at the rally and not formally endorsed Sabatini.
My friend Lauren Boebert from Colorado. She my friend Lauren Boebert from Colorado. They put in metal detectors on the floor of the House because it's like a 5'0" woman. She carries a firearm for her personal protection. So, they got triggered by that.
That's not why that happened. That's literally not why that happened. I'm an imposter. That's literally not why that happened. And furthermore, at a certain point, you are not allowed to carry firearms within certain areas of congressional buildings, so on and so forth. Like, get over yourself.
I said, man, is it Tananite or C4 we want to put in those metal detectors when we blow them up and we take them to charity?
I'm just casually threatening to... it's just a joke, guys. He's trying to downplay the threat by mentioning how tall she is, but a gun is a gun. True. Yeah, again, this is not the issue. The issue is that the issue is, number one, he's lying about the circumstances as to why that happened. And B, yeah, there are certain rules in the congressional areas where you cannot, probably should not, carry firearms in congressional areas and buildings and federal, like, you know, where the Capitol is. Like, okay. These are common sense, folks. Quote, they got triggered by that. I said, is it Tannerite or C4 we want to put up in those metal detectors when we blow them up? Yeah, very normal, very hinged. Very normal, very hinged. Remember, these are all pals. These are all folks who are completely fine with each other's statements like this and who deem each other friends. Tannerite is an explosive made from ammonium nitrate and aluminum powder meant to be used as a binary exploding rifle targets. A type of explosive consisting of two components, neither of which is explosive by itself but have to be combined in order to become explosive. Yeah, and of course, Lauren Boebert, absolutely delusional, says, yeah, I'll bring the Tannerite, and again, doubling down on these, quote, jokes. And Matt Gaetz, of course, tweeting, if you can't fantasize about blowing up useless metal detectors with Lauren Boebert at a Florida Halloween political rally for Anthony Sabatini, then when can you? Usually we try to, like, not joke about using explosives within congressional buildings. Usually that's kind of, like, not funny. Usually when people say things like that, they would be investigated by the FBI, by the Department of Homeland Security. Just saying. Usually when people say things like this, they would immediately get a visit by law enforcement. Just saying. After the rally, both Gaetz and Boebert reiterated, so they doubled down on their statements about the explosives on their Twitter accounts, which we just went over, which were retweeted by, of course, Sabatini. So yeah, totally hinged, totally normal state of the GOP. I got a joke, let's fire the GOP. Well, yeah, I mean, we should. Go vote. Yeah, go vote. FBI open up. Oh, shoot. Ha, that's a banger. Nice. Matt Gaetz being a good human being. That's a good joke. FBI, close the door. Okay. I'll go close it. Just a second. After people began jacking the FBI in the comments, Boebert sent out a follow-up tweet. To the fools who think that this would be done inside the Capitol, get a life. The metal detectors are useless and we're getting rid of them when Republicans take back the House. Okay. Okay. Yeah, exactly. FBI, I would like to report a very suspicious comment about explosives in the Capitol. Metal detectors, yeah, okay. When asked for comment, Gaetz provided the following statement. After Republicans take the majority, I intend to introduce a rule change to have metal detectors foolishly around the House floor removed and destroyed, blown up if possible. Okay, so yeah, he's just delusional. Tripling down. Is Gaetz still being investigated for trafficking? I think, I think he is he not? I haven't heard any updates. Yeah, nobody's saying that she should, that she's saying to, like, do it inside the Capitol. I mean, like, the language that they're using and the fantasy of them just, why? Why are you like this? That's the problem. Anyways. President Joe Manchin, again, continues to draw the ire. Continues to draw the ire of progressives, or anybody really that just wants a modicum of change. Joe Manchin just repeated the White House planned victory lap. When Joe Manchin stepped to the podium on U.S. Capitol on Monday afternoon, in the hope among Democrats was that he was going to announce the support of the $1.7 trillion of social safety net bill, a moment that would virtually ensure passage of the bulk of President Joe Biden's first-term domestic agenda. Which, again, I would also like to remind people that this supposed bill started at $6 trillion. Then the compromise was $3.5 trillion. Now we're at $1.7. A moment that would virtually ensure passage of the bulk of President Joe Biden's first-term domestic agenda. After all, why else would Manchin call a news conference and tell reporters that he was going to clear up a lot of things? Well, it's not that, as it turns out. Yeah, hey, let me clear things up for you guys, all right? Go selves. There we go. Hope that clears up for everybody in the country. Hope that clears up everything for everybody in West Virginia. What the West Virginia Democrat announced that was that liberals' attempt to secure his vote for the safety net bill in exchange for their backing of the $1.2 trillion hard infrastructure bills aren't working and won't work. In other words, again, as I just repeated, it's time to vote. Oh my God, here we go. I get it, guys. I get it. It's the same playbook that I originally said from the beginning. This is exactly what's going to happen. Remember, okay, so for those folks who have been here for quite some time, remember from the beginning that one of the plans was one of the problems with the bipartisan infrastructure bill is that, well, they're going to end up torpedoing the other one, tout the bipartisan bill as a W, okay? Tout the bipartisan bill as a W, get nothing done, and then surprise Pikachu face when people are going to get mad and not vote for them again, right? And it's happening. It's happening. They want this. They're trying hard to push this bipartisan bill so that they can say, look, we did it. We did a thing. We did a thing. We did like some infrastructure here and there, and that's it. And look, it's a W. Look, we did it. It's bipartisan, and that's it. And that will be the end of it. No crucial climate legislations, no crucial social safety net expansions, nothing. What does Joe Manchin's corporate donors want? Like, it was haggled down from 6 to 1.5. What more is it going to take to convince them? Nothing. What's going to happen? House votes on the first bill. Manchin throws the second bill in the trash. Yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to insinuate from the beginning. I was like, I don't like this. I don't like where this is heading. The goal and the original deal was that you pass these two together. Okay? That was the deal. It's time to vote on the bipartisan infrastructure, up or down. Holding this bill hostage is not going to work and getting my support. It's not going to work for getting my... Yeah, this is what happens when you let Joe Manchin basically do whatever he wants. Now he feels like he's the one in control. Now he's the one that feels like he's going to dictate what the House does. He's dictating and he's setting an ultimatum for what the House is doing. Ultimately, President Joe Manchin didn't want to get jammed into supporting something that he was far from ready to endorse. What? As to whether he will ever support the social safety net bill, Manchin was decidedly non-committal. Yeah. Nice meme. One thing that Manchin's statement makes clear is that it's going to take time, potentially a lot more time, to win his support if that's even possible. Here, newsflash. Time is of the essence, okay? Midterms are coming up. Your time to do anything is shortening. It's hard to overstate how big a setback Manchin's statement represents for Biden, who is attending a climate change conference in Scotland. At the start of the day, Manchin, the general consensus among Democrats was that the deal had been reached on at least the framework for the social safety net legislation, and that reality appeared to be softening concerns among liberals that voting for the hard infrastructure bill without the broader bill would cost them the only leverage they have with Manchin and Democratic President Madam President Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona. Interesting. So now Manchin is saying, you know what? I actually don't care. None of this has to happen if it's up to me. Actually, I genuinely don't care. That's basically Joe Manchin's position at this point. We can safely say that he literally, unironically, doesn't care. In all fairness, what can the rest of the House do to force his vote? I don't know about the House, Uncle Ray, but definitely Chuck Schumer and the Biden administration have to get it together and be like, look, bro, you're kind of killing the vibe over here, Manchin. What's up? Manchin made the deal already. He got 48 votes in exchange for voting on these bills together. Every time he asked for change, he's just trying to scam us. Yeah, exactly. In all fairness, this shouldn't be a fight. True, Kyle. This shouldn't be a fight. Like, we shouldn't have to have these conversations about, like, about expanding healthcare. We shouldn't have to have these, like, fights about, like, something that's so important, such as climate change, infrastructure, and things like this. What helps is we've got it right here on our desk, man. Give us the other bill, and this bill is passing. Yeah, kind of, but, like, he's basically saying, like, you know what? Actually, I don't care. I just don't care. Get is what he's saying. I've been non-stop molding for the past 3 weeks now. There's no way the first bill fails unless Manchin makes it about the second bill. He's playing coy that these bills weren't bundled together from the beginning. Remember, the original plan, I didn't know it was 8 trillion. I didn't hear about that. But the original plan that was introduced was 6 trillion. That's the plan that was introduced. And then they negotiated the 3.5, and now we're at 1.7. Mind you, again, this is over 10 years. Okay, this isn't like a we're just gonna dump 1.7 trillion into the ether. No, this is over 10 years. 3.5 trillion. This isn't just gonna be dumped into the ether immediately. This is over 10 years for crucial, important things that we need as a basic modicum of improvement. And we can't even get that because Joe Manchin is too concerned, and is way too concerned about the growing problem of Americans developing an entitlement mentality. Holy yikes. Joe Manchin is one senator. How the fuck is it so difficult to whip or coerce him into voting for the bill? I have no idea. No idea why this is a problem. We bent over backwards to give Manchin's Republican friends a piece of the bill they could vote yes on. Yeah. We've done concession after concession after concession until nothing is left. Literally, nothing is left. So much has been gutted that I don't know if it's even worth it. There is no leverage. He knows he's not winning as a Democrat in 2024. He's already filthy rich. The caucus has nothing else to offer to him. Yeah, he's just gonna sink the ship then. These aren't Dems. Why do we let them run as such? Well, they run in the Democratic Party, but they're conservative Dems. Now, Manchin's insistence that the House pass the infrastructure bill without any assurances on how he will ultimately vote on the safety net bill will restoke all the doubts among progressives about him walking away from the broader deal once he gets what he wants, which is nothing. And Manchin's lecture, it's time to pass the bill and quit playing games. You quit playing games. It's just gonna piss the left off even more. Yeah. Yeah. And this type of attitude is exactly what's gonna torpedo the Democratic, prospects of maintaining the House and Senate. The Manchin announcement is pure bad news for the Biden White House, and as it may put them back at square one when it comes to negotiating a way to get the president's domestic agenda through a Democratic-controlled Congress. The Dems are too beholden to the same... yeah, that's right. I don't think Sinema... Howdy, Mono. I don't think that Manchin or Sinema want the party to win in 2022. If they get 2 more seats, they would have... we would leave them hanging in 2024. They need that 50-50 to have any support. Manchin and Sinema should be fired, but who has the courage? Yeah, the higher election officials are also paid by energy lobbies. Yep. Progressives are not Dems. Well, I mean, I guess, like, they run under the same banner, but... You can't hire people just for disagreeing, which is technically the problem here. Exactly. You realize that Joe President, you can't just fire people for disagreeing, which is technically the problem here. True. It's not about firing, it's more, I think what they're referring to is, like, voting. You realize Joe Manchin is a coal baron, and Manchin's daughter is the CEO of Mylan, a medical company whose claim to fame is EpiPens. That's right, Bike Shop Guru. That's right. A company that wanted to split the EpiPen into a 2-step shot so they could charge more. True. Yeah, and somehow, Joe Manchin is at the head of the Energy Committee. Yeah. The memes write themselves. They aren't disagreeing, they're taking more money to deliver something for their client, not their voters. Yep, something like that. There's no way around that unless they do something criminal. That's right. Or they get voted out until 2024, if that's even a thing. They don't disagree, they're just paid to deliver. Yeah, specifically with Joe Manchin, it is as clear as day. There's no doubt in my mind that ExxonMobil got their return on investment. There's no doubt about it in this case, specifically with Joe Manchin is a exact case in point. ExxonMobil didn't want any of these climate initiatives, and it happened. ExxonMobil meets with Joe Manchin frequently, and so it is. Cool. Very good. Very normal systems. I bribe my niece with toys. She treats me well. The memes write themselves, folks. This is so... frustrating. Biden proposes new rules to cut climate warming methane emissions by doing the bare minimum. The Biden administration is proposing stricter regulations to reduce leaks of methane from oil and gas industry operations. It comes as world leaders at the UN climate meeting in Glasgow are pushing countries to join a global pledge to cut methane, a climate warming gas that's even more potent than carbon dioxide. That part is true. Methane is the main ingredient in natural gas, but it doesn't stay in the atmosphere nearly as long as carbon dioxide, the most common human-caused greenhouse gas. That is why the EPA says reducing methane emissions now would have a rapid and significant effect on global warming. I agree that this is not just the EPA, but the IPCC has also said that something that we can focus on in the immediate is to eliminate methane emissions. Last April, Congress restored Obama-era methane regulations, but they only apply to new and modified operations. In a major expansion, these new rules would also apply to existing facilities. America's back. Okay. America's back. In a major expansion, these new rules will also apply to existing facilities. America's back and leading by example in confronting the climate crisis with bold ambition. No, America is not leading by example when it comes to the climate crisis. They are just doing business as usual. His agency estimates that the proposed regulations would reduce 41 million tons of methane emissions by 2035, more than the equivalent carbon dioxide emitted from all passenger cars and commercial aircraft in the country in 2019. Another agency, the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, is issuing a final rule that expands federal oversight to include more natural gas pipelines. For the first time, more than 425,000 miles of gathering pipelines that move gas from production sites to interstate pipelines will be regulated by the Department of Transportation. After years in development, these new regulations represent a major step to enhance and modernize pipeline safety and environmental standards. Or, and hear me out, we should cut emissions, period, full stop. We should be moving to decouple ourselves from fossil fuels in as many ways as possible, as quickly as possible. Period, full stop. Democrats care about global warming as much as they care about COVID, which they don't care about at all. I'll extend a olive branch by agreeing with the fact that Democrats don't care about climate. China is actually leading on climate change while the US dithers and capitulates to Joe Manchin and his donors. I think like every other country is doing something that is miles ahead of us. So regulating leaks is going to reduce methane emissions by 30%. Yeah, it's just like a copium. It's just to say that we did something without actually eliminating the cause of the problem. Both are actively doing bad things to ensure we do nothing on climate. True. So fucking sad to watch David Attenborough be like, we need you to act. We have hope. Yeah, I know. I know. I know. Deep down he knows it's fucked. True. True. But nonetheless, have you seen Yanis Varoufakis interview with Slavoj Žižek on capitalism is dead and replaced with techno-feudalism? I mean, it may be. He's playing into the problem though. Too much hopium? Yeah, I guess. Oh, this is a 2-hour video. I can't watch this, but I will post it in chat, Astro. I will post it in chat. For those of you that want to see Yanis Varoufakis and Slavoj Žižek. Yeah, keep telling the kids that if we get there in the end, it'll be alright. Yeah, and then watch them paralyze into inaction. Think of all the fracking is responsible for only 20% of methane emissions. The animal agriculture is a third of it. Yikes. Yeah, that is true. Animal agriculture is a massive contributor. The only hope is Greta going beast mode. Yeah, basically. Very revealing. I'll put the reference in whispers. Yeah, I typed it in chat. Because it'll be over. There's still hope that the world will not explode. Well, yeah, the world... Okay, so the world isn't going to explode. However, it's going to be very, very catastrophic when it comes to the way we think of life on Earth here. It's going to be a lot different, to say the least. Otherwise, you would just wait years to vote. Yeah. And unironically saying F the politicians. True. There's also... This is also a thing. What the F does Murdoch care about climate change? He'll be long dead. It's people like me who are going to experience the consequences. That's right. Boris Johnson being like, ah, well, very bad. We all suffer. Too bad. Next. God, so frustrating. Like he isn't rich as... Hey, like he isn't rich as half. He could just fly over to New Zealand. I was joking. I'm a doomer pretty much. Drew. Clearly we're not all in this together. Yep. The oil industry is split on strict methane regulation. The oil, gas, and coal industry are the largest source of human-caused methane emission. Wait. Oh, human-caused, right? This is how they get around it, because technically the animal is the one that's causing the methane when it comes to animal agriculture. So the wording is very, very, very slippery, if I should say. An Environmental Defense Fund study found that cutting methane emissions now could slow the near-term rate of global warming by as much as 30%. Press X to doubt, but the industry is split on whether there should be more government regulations. Big oil companies generally support more rules and smaller ones oppose them. Okay. The large companies are heavily invested in natural gas. They worry that if methane emissions aren't controlled, it could undermine arguments that gas is a cleaner burning coal. Big oil companies generally support more rules because they've already big enough to cash steamroll through any cost. Yep. We cannot make the climate case for the widespread use of natural gas if we don't manage and contain it. Bro, there's no world where you could make the argument that natural gas is somehow clean energy. There's no world in which anybody is going to convince me to endorse the statement natural gas is clean energy. I mean, if you want to say that it's cleaner than coal, maybe, but that's not an excuse. That's not good enough. I'm wondering who's going to run and maintain these mega yachts. It certainly won't be wealthy people. Their hands might get dirty. True. It's not on the industry to regulate itself. I don't give a shit what they think. True. I think there should be an immediate priority of people to end the entire effing cruise industry. Have you seen how much effing carbon those things emit? Yes, among other problems, they dump a lot of pollution into the ocean, so on and so forth. They're a nightmare on our seas. Cleaner is one way, worse in another. True. Okay, but the counterpoint is I'm rich and I like them. It's my right to own a mega yacht. We cannot make the climate crisis case for the widespread of natural gas. Yeah, exactly. Sure. She was responding to legislation President Biden signed and reversed the Trump administration rollback of methane leak regulations. Other large oil companies expressed similar views at the time on Twitter, including BP, Equinor, and Total. Smaller drillers at the time said new regulations would be expensive and could put some out of business. Hey, buddy. I actually don't care. Sorry. I'm a big proponent of clean coal. In 2014, Colorado was the first state to regulate methane from oil and gas industry. Since then, the state has found, based on reports from oil and gas companies... Wait. Huh? Why would you trust? Okay. That methane emissions have increased more slowly than oil productions, but in Boston, a new study using different methods find that methane leaks along smaller distribution lines are 6 times higher than the state estimates. You mean that they may or may not have been cooking the numbers? No way. The study authors indicate methane leaks in other cities may also be higher than what the EPA has estimated. Carbon dioxide gets most of the attention when it comes to greenhouse gases, but lately there's been more of attention on methane. In May, a UN report urged immediate cuts to methane, called it the strongest lever we have to slow climate change over the next 25 years. As President Biden seeks to pass budget legislation to support his climate change plans, Democrats have drafted several forms of a methane fee. No. Stop. These are like band-aids. These are roundabout like faux solutions. Okay? Deal with the problem and stop doing this. This is asinine. This is useless. The details are still being worked out in Congress, but essentially the fee would charge oil and gas companies for releasing a certain amount of methane and potentially pay them to monitor and reduce emissions. Okay, methane fees proposals have faced opposition from the oil industry and even Democrats in fossil fuel states. Okay. That's right. This article makes me want to cry. Same. I don't know what makes people think we're going to do better on methane. Yep, it's become the backup plan because CO2 isn't being controlled. Exactly. It's like ExxonMobil executives playing Fallout 4 and thinking, yeah, that's right there. That's what we want our future to look like. That's right. Personally, in my opinion, I think that there's enough evidence to say that they know exactly what's happening and simply they just don't care. They're trying to cash in. And then when it all goes down, they are going to be long gone or on their way out anyway, so why should they care? That's basically it. They think that all of this wealth and all of these resources are going to save them. In Glasgow this week, the US and European Union are leading an effort for a global methane pledge. Again, it means, it honestly means all. Countries that sign it commit to collectively reduce global methane emissions by at least 30% by 2030. The White House says meeting the goal would reduce warming by at least 0.2 degrees, which is... okay. The heads of 90 countries have agreed to the pledges so far. For too long, this potent super pollutant has fallen off the agenda at major climate summits, while its emissions have risen to an all-time high. Since Sarah Smith of the Clean Air Task Force, it said risk pushing our planet closer to potentially irreversible tipping points, except we're already on the way. What EPA announced today is just proposed regulation. Now the agency will collect comments and final rules expected by the end of 2022. ExxonMobil will be like, why should I care if over 1 billion people die? It's not me who's gonna... yeah, it's not me who's going to be affected. Why should... why should I care? All while I found my spirituality in relationship to humanity, the great organism that is our universe, they don't give a shit, but are probably religious in some way. Maybe, I don't know. God, this is so infuriating. And it gets worse, folks.
Practice.
Oh, what?
Driving better yield with lower inputs. Building carbon... more resilient crops, and yes, getting better income as a result as well.
Okay, I'm gonna run through this article, and then we're gonna just kind of tune in. I didn't realize it was on. From Gizmodo, no less. From Gizmodo, this was a very worrying report. Coffee is probably going to go extinct in a few years. Yeah, depending. We're not going to be able to have access to the same coffee beans. Yeah, COP26. That would have probably been an a better apt name for it. The scientists are terrified. A survey of the top climate researchers shows stark finding. Most expect catastrophic levels of heating and damage soon and very soon. Remember, guys, the IPCC report is conservative estimates. A new Nature survey shows a majority of the world's leading climate scientists expect catastrophic impacts in their lifetimes, driven by rising greenhouse gases emissions. Brilliant researchers, they're just like you and me, but with more data. Which actually makes the new survey even more unnerving. The feature from Nature, published on Monday, involved querying in the IPCC researchers. These are the same folks who put out a major report earlier this year warning that this is essentially the most consequential decade in human history, one that will play a major role in deciding how severe global warming will be for generations to come. In other words, they're deep in it. Yeah, of course. It's an entire international coalition of tens of thousands of scientists, decades of data, the latest technology with models and simulations, everything you could possibly want in a research paper is all brought together by an international group of people. So yeah, I think so. I would buy that shirt. Oh man. Every year is a new Cope shirt. Nature heard back from 92 of the 233 living IPCC authors. The results show that 6 in 10 respondents expect the planet to warm at least 5.4 degrees Fahrenheit, 3 degrees Celsius, which is twice the amount that we're supposed to... Okay. At a level that's way beyond the Paris Agreement of 2 degrees Celsius. 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's double the 1.5 degrees Celsius that target that policymakers and researchers, including the IPCC, has identified as a relative safe level of heating that would allow small islands to remain above sea level and protect millions from food insecurity and violence. Just 20% of researchers, meanwhile, expect the world to meet the Paris Agreement 2 degrees Celsius target, and a paltry 4% 1.5 degrees Celsius is in play. Yeah. The most consequential decade was 40 to 50 years ago. Yeah, I agree that we should have been at this decades ago, but this is literally this is literally it. This is like the last chance. Climate change deniers be like, I took a shower a few moments ago and the shower's cold, so climate change doesn't exist. Ha! Libs destroyed. Exactly. I brought in a snowball. I brought in a snowball to the floor of Congress. Checkmate. Even more upsetting, 88% of the researchers expected climate change to unleash catastrophic impacts in their lifetime. Of course, you would argue that's already happening. True. Research has shown climate change is playing a role in making heat waves, wildfires, and cyclones worse. To take one example, the Pacific Northwest heat wave this summer was dubbed a mass casualty event that was made 150 times more likely due to burning fossil fuels. It went from a 1 in 150,000 year event in the pre-industrial era to 1 in 1,000 year. Jesus. In our current climate. And with each passing year, the rising emissions, the odds of more extreme heat like it will rise. The survey also shows that many scientists are struggling with grief and anxiety. Paola Arias, the climate scientist at Columbia University of Antigua, told Nature that climate crisis made her decide not to have children. Now I should note that Nature Analysis is not a peer-reviewed study, and the response rate means that there could be 141 happy-go-lucky scientists out there who are so sure the world will tackle climate change that they didn't bother responding, but the results that mirror a peer-reviewed study of kids published in September, as well as anecdotal findings from those who have lived through climate disasters, basically the closest to the issue, are feeling the most acute and anguish. I know this is anecdote Andy, but I've said multiple times that my non-biological brother is a researcher for climate. He researches and collects data. He's done multiple trips to the Arctic and has done a lot of work here in the Bay Area in South Florida, in Biscayne Bay. And yeah, he feels it. He feels it. Yep, that's exactly right, Danarchist. A town in British Columbia burned to the ground. That's what climate change looks like. Yep.
Dear distinguished head of state and government, delegate, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, let us begin.
Let's see if we can catch some of this towards the end. You know?
It is my pleasure to welcome Her Excellency, Mrs. Maya Amor Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It is my honor to present the national statement of Barbados at this COP26. Barbados sees its obligation to address climate crisis as securing the future for our citizens and also to secure our safety from the development of a severe crisis, while at the same time we will work with others globally to ensure that we can mitigate all of the worst effects of the climate crisis facing our country and our citizens. In fulfillment of our obligations, my country has submitted to UNFCCC one of the most ambitious and action-oriented 2021 NDC updates. We hope and believe we can secure the target of pathway of 1.5 degrees within the promise of the Paris Agreement. Domestically, we will become and hope to reduce all emissions economy-wide by 70% by 2030 and as close to zero by 2035. Barbados' NDC sets an economy-wide mitigation contribution, which is mirrored in our Roofs to Reefs program, which we see as our major adaptation program. It is a multi-sectoral program across water, waste, agriculture, energy, housing, and transport. And we see it as part of a strategic transformation to adapt in the event that the world does not meet 1.5 degrees.
When
it can be
it
used
does.
as well as a development model for all developing countries, and we are prepared to work with all persons to improve it and to perfect it, because we do not believe that we are omniscient in these matters. Barbados is also meeting its obligation to its citizens and to the citizens
how come all
of the
these
world,
tiny countries you
and
can do
indeed
it, but
to
we
the planet
can't?
on which
But we
live.
can't, right?
We call on all countries to act on their moral obligation and by their actions to stop condemning those of us who live between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn to the dystopian reality of the climate crisis.
Put Barbados in charge of the planet.
Disaster,
True.
refugee status, poverty, truncated development, compromised livelihoods, and most of all, regrettably, jeopardized lives. We have completed just recently the hosting of UNCTAD 15. Two key documents were settled: the Bridgetown Covenant and the Political Declaration, The Spirit of Speightstown. In them, much of our aspirations are captured. We now call on the wider international community, particularly those whose high emissions are the cause of the climate crisis, to do the following. One, to help us and them move, as we know, to green economies, to allow preferential access to grants and loans for small island developing states and those other countries on the front line of the climate crisis on the basis of their vulnerability and not on the basis of GDP per capita. We ask equally that there is an increased level of capital for adaptation and that we adhere to a 50-50 split with mitigation, which is absolutely urgent because those small island developing states need it to augment water resources, to convert our electricity and our transport sector, and to promote food and nutritional security if we are literally to survive the increase in temperature.
Yep.
We ask also that the world consider the adoption of a multidimensional vulnerability index that is reflective of the risk and vulnerability caused by the climate-induced whiteout risk and events that we face. We've been calling for this for over 3 decades and are yet to see it. But at the very least, if we don't get the index, we ask for criteria to include vulnerability. We also ask that there be a voluntary allocation of special drawing rights of the world's strongest economies in order to move forward to create a resilience and sustainability trust. My friends, the action is required now, not in the next decade. And in the words of Michael Jackson, it is up to us to heal the world and to make the world a better place. I thank you.
Again, all of this depends on whether or not there's action behind
Thank you,
it.
Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency, Mr. Alexander De Croo, Prime Minister of Belgium. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, climate change has arrived, and it has arrived with a vengeance. Firestorms that rage through our forests, heat waves that kill our crops and vaporize our drinking water supplies, the floods in our villages, the 41 people who died in such floods in my country last July, the first Belgian citizens who fell victim to climate change. Other countries and other continents already paid a much higher price. But for us, that was something far away, something on TV. Not anymore. Climate change is hitting home also in Europe. The report by the International Panel on Climate Change makes for a very sobering read indeed. The increase in carbon dioxide concentration and the increase in global temperature are unprecedented. The report leaves us with one conclusion only. We need a rapid and large-scale reduction of CO2 emissions to bring the 1.5 degrees goal within reach.
A 90% empty
room. There is no time to
room.
lose. We are behind schedule and we need to pick up the pace. So we need to do more, and it needs to happen here in Glasgow. We simply cannot afford not to act. We simply cannot lean back and wait for the next flood, the next heat wave, the next forest fire to kill and destroy. That is why Belgium and the European Union are undertaking action. What is Belgium doing? We are investing to remain one of the world's leading producers of offshore wind energy. We will triple our offshore capacity by the end of the decade. That will cover the electricity needs of every single household in my country. We will build an energy island to connect our offshore sites, a giant socket linking renewable energy production around the North Sea. We have the clear ambition to become one of the most important hubs in clean hydrogen supply. To strengthen the resilience of the most fragile countries, we are increasing our contribution to international climate finance with 60%. And we will contribute with €200 million to the fight against deforestation. With the Green Deal, the European Union intends to be climate neutral by 2050 and to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by at least 55% by 2030. Europe has a historic responsibility regarding climate change. That is why we take the lead. But we are not the only ones to shoulder that responsibility. The other major economies should urgently take equivalent action.
Meanwhile, in America,
they should not do so for their own benefits, because sustainability is not only a matter of saving lives, it is also about protecting livelihoods, about building a new economy, creating new jobs, reconnecting with green economic growth, leveraging the innovative strengths of our companies for a more sustainable future. Otherwise, we will not get back on track to what we agreed in Paris.
Meanwhile, in
Now the world is full of talent to make that happen. There are plenty of bright minds who are working on the climate solutions as we speak, in our world-class universities, in our forward-looking companies. Young people working from the garage of their parents will come up with climate solutions we're not even aware of today. We need to help people and companies to make this transition. And we need to ensure that this new economy is inclusive as well, making sure that everyone is on board. The climate transition is not only something for rich people in rich countries, because then we will fail. So everyone needs to be part of the change. That sustainable technologies are affordable, that the energy bill goes down thanks to renewables, that women and men have the right skills for new green jobs. We can do this. Europe can do this. The world can do this. We either overcome the climate crisis together or we do not overcome it at all.
I feel like you don't even have to be
Ladies and
left-wing like me to
gentlemen,
recognize that
there
fossil
has
fuels
been
into
plenty of time
yes,
for long
exactly.
speeches and lofty ambitions. Now it is time for action, starting today. This is not just another perfunctory summit we routinely attend.
Except it is. It is just like how it always has been for the past decades. Yeah, all of this is meaningless.
Raising the money we need, we have the talent that is coming up with innovative answers as we speak. This is a challenge where young women and men lead the way. Now we need to muster political will. That's why we are here. The Glasgow conference is about political will. It is about the long-term perspective which requires action.
I think he's
now.
the leader of
About making
Belgium.
climate transition happen while no one is left behind, so that we come out stronger, more resilient. The world has come together here in Glasgow. Let us find that willpower and start to turn the tide. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Mr. Philippe Pierre, Prime Minister of St. Lucia. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Mr. President, I join in commending you for hosting this momentous convergence of world leaders to set the stage for the United Nations Climate Change Conference this year.
Mindfulness
As
is
we grapple
key.
with the global pandemic, I believe our presence here is testimony to our recognition
Nobody will.
that we are at a critical juncture,
True.
a tipping point. This is the last decade, 2020 to 2040, the last chance to set the world on track to 1.5 degrees. The question is, will we rise to the challenge? Will our moral conscience prevail?
No.
Small island developing states, as my country, St. Lucia, whose special circumstances and needs were settled in Paris, are in the midst of a crisis for humanity. The UN Secretary General described the IPCC Working Group 1 report as a code red for humanity. Undeniably, certain changes such as sea level rise and ocean acidification are already locked in with dire consequences for SIDS
That
and
part is
low-lying
true.
states. But we know that 1.5 degrees Celsius is still within our reach. To achieve it, we must
not.
act and act now.
We won't.
Countries must urgently bring forward the NDCs with 2030 targets consistent with 1.5 degree temperature goal,
They won't.
supported by credible net zero by 2050 long-term strategies. We must support wind, solar, and other renewable energy investments.
That's true, but they won't.
The power to turn things around lies in our collective hands. We must be focused and resolute. We cannot waver on matters of human survival. In this regard, world leaders must deliver on the long-term climate finance goal that was promised, supporting not only mitigation, but also adaptation.
1.5
We
is
must
a total
also
meme.
raise
Yeah.
the profile of and mainstream loss and damage.
It's time to
as
support
a
indigenization
distinct
of the
pillar
local
of
scale to
climate
empower communities
action
to
and
survive
support.
international smokescreen for corporate realm
It
and
is
this is the
high
path to nowhere.
time
Yep.
that we complete the Paris Rulebook. When we bring to fruition that vital work, we can strengthen accountability and enable the highest possible ambition while ensuring transparency and
Where are the aliens?
environmental integrity. Colleagues, friends, we in the developing world are on the front lines, exposed. Our poor, vulnerable citizens have
That is
limited
true.
ability to respond to climate change effects, and so the quality of life is significantly diminished.
That is true.
As responsible leaders, can we in good conscience sacrifice humanity for industry?
Yes.
Will we continue to ignore the science?
Yes.
To gamble with the future of our youth, women, private sector and NGOs? What are the prospects for countries like Taiwan, yet to be recognized, but also confronting climate change while supporting SIDS? The young people who will inherit this planet are watching. We cannot fail them. Let us not be that generation of leaders who had the last chance to set the world on track, but choose not to put people first. I thank you.
Yeah, so, nice meme. The 1.5 degree goal is, it's just not gonna happen. I'm sorry. The necessary actions that are required to do so aren't manifesting themselves. The required actions to reach the 1.5 degrees would be monumental, and they're just not there. It's just not there. I'm sorry. The policies, the policies and legislations from across the world, not only that, okay, here in the U.S. isn't even taking a step forward. The will, exactly. Thank you, Cal. The will is just not there. It's not happening. Just the frontline populations to guide their own future, Barbados will suffer, but by leaving the monarchy, they're moving towards their own prep. The IPCC says it's possible. Yeah, no, it's possible, but that would require to have all of the proper pieces moving in the proper pieces moving in the direction that they're supposed to be. That's why the idea of the 1.5 is kind of a it's kind of a meme, not because it's not possible, but because the things that need to be moving in the direction that they're supposed to be moving aren't happening. They're not. Their manifestation isn't. The manifestation of the legislation, of the political, of the ambition, is not there. So unless that changes within very short period of time, then yeah, that's it. Yeah, but just to be clear, it is possible. We just need all the pieces to move in the direction that they're supposed to be moving. Sharma's been a very vocal supporter of the expansion of Harthill Airport and spilling its anything could happen. We're all just along for the ride. Yeah, I guess. That's true. I mean, yeah. Despite the position, a third of the runway could inflict huge damage on the environment and quality of life. It's time for the government to abandon its plans. Yikes. And that's the president of COP26. Yep. Anyways, it is about that time, folks. Folks, I do appreciate he talks out of both sides of his mouth, yeah. Folks, I do appreciate you guys having, spending time here with me. And, please, if you guys enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button on your way out. Thank you, Darknet. Thank you, Mono. I appreciate you guys hanging out here. As always, before we go, make sure you hit the YouTubes, subscribe, like, comment, share, and make sure you join the Discords. Make sure you join the Discords. Follow us on the Bird app. I missed the cute animal video. God dang it. I guess we're gonna have to do that cute animal video next time. I was all caught up in this. Yeah, I know. Same, Kal-El, same. Don't worry, I got you next time. In fact, because I missed it, I'm gonna do 2 animal videos next stream. Scammed. True, this is a scam. We get 2 animal videos next time tomorrow, alright? That's how we're gonna have to open up the stream. Because this was a bit rough. Alright folks, as always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Love y'all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya! Thank you, Darknet. Thank you, Mono. Appreciate it. Hang tight, folks. Hang tight. Let's head on over to Tina. I haven't stopped by there for quite a time. Oh, she's got a nice starting soon screen. I haven't seen this one before. Yeah, perfect timing. Perfect timing. Alright, folks, hang tight. We're heading out. Thank you guys. Don't forget to follow, do all the awesome stuff. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.